people want to do. In fact, they do. Or they want to at least get some responsible guidance, and the complete abdication of responsible guidance from this government I find shameful, and I indeed, Mr. Speaker, will continue to wear a face covering in this chamber.
So for those listening in audio only, you might not have fully appreciated that the head rolling, the head shaking, the eye rolling, and the shoulder heaving was part of the, dare I say, Posh Girl Act, making it abundantly clear that she did actually mean what she was saying. Because she was using her body language irony, to join that Radio 4 contributor in expressing the position that it's only posh people who think the plebs don't want leading by the posh. And when she got a lot more serious with her body language as well as her tone of voice to say, in fact, they do want us posh people to take a lead. So because the government's not doing it, we enlightened posh people must wear masks even when it's no longer law or guidance.
But correct me if I didn't see something, but she said she continued to wear a mask in this house, but she wasn't wearing a mask.
Yeah, they're only required to wear a mask when they're sitting down.
That virus is just so cunning, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, when they sit down, the virus appears. Amazing.
So some tweets about this.
Christian Calgi is a good channel that could do with some more subscribers, and he's entitled his upload of this clip, Vera Snobhouse. And here I engaged in a bit of dialogue with a gentleman named Jay, if that is his real name, who made a fair point, actually. He says that this clip has been shorn of context, and basically says he carries no candles for mainstream politicians, least of all the Lib Dems, who in Britain have the reputation of being the most statist of all the major parties. He says they have ridiculous beliefs, but not that ridiculous, come on. So he thinks there's ironic context cut out. So I replied to that saying, actually, this was the beginning, the first paragraph of a speech in which Madame Hobhouse went on to ask a question. I think she was asking about sin, actually, Brian, but I can't remember the acronym in full, but that'll come in a moment. But anyway, she wanted to add the word mathematics to a particular science quango name. And I said that the whole point of the forum in which it happened, which is the business of the House debate, is that there is no context. Everyone stands up, as they're called, and simply says, I have an axe to grind, that this is not being given parliamentary time. And just in passing, you can see that the Hansard transcript, one of the best transcribing services in the world to this day, if you look at the next slide, does actually make that clear, that she gets up on her feet and the first thing she says straight away is her beef about mask wearing. There we are. That's come up now for us. So on the business of the House, you can just see that the member for Bath, Liberal Democrat Vera Hobhouse, simply stands up and says that apropos of nothing about COVID. It's what was really on her mind. And at the end of that clip, then she picked up her paper to start her main point. So that there was no other context. She really meant it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, now if you like what the UK Column does and you would like to support us, then please head over to ukcolumn.org/community. There are options to help us out there. Also, please do share any material you find on various platforms. Of course, the ukcolumn.org website as well, but we're also on brand YouTube, on Rumble, on BitChute, on Odyssey. Patrick just wanted me to also remind everybody that his old normal t-shirt is absolutely still available. Not very many left, however, so you need to get in quick. So please do so if you would like one.
Yeah, excellent t-shirt. I do love it. Just put up a quick advert that we've been doing some interviews over the last few days with qualified scientific experts. And the first of these interviews, No Smoke Without Fire, we're talking to Dr. Harvey Seligman, who's principally talking about vaccines, children, and the statistics from Israel, but also other countries across the world, and Dr. Anne-Marie Yim, who's giving her concerns about the vaccine and its effects from her experience in labs. So we hope that that will be published later today. That's part one. Part two is the one that really focuses on the statistics. Both of them, I think, are worth watching as a package. So see if you can devote the time to doing that. And an email that came in from a lady called Gillian, which I thought was interesting. She said, thank you and your team. You and your team are brilliant. Thank you for what you do in exposing the lies. However, in one of your programs, you showed a survey on Home Office surveys which can't be accessed. I'm not sure what that is at the moment. Well, I'll have a look into that. But she says she's written to her MP throughout to no avail, and Boris posted a letter to Boris yesterday, been unable to get to London for any protests, and wonder what else I can do to wake people up and stop this awful tyranny. First thing that came into my mind is get on to the local party chairman of your MP to demand explanation as to why there was no answer from the MP, but also suggest you make contact as a first step. See if you can find 1, 2, 3 other people in your local area that you're able to meet, sit down and have a chat with them about what you can do, because it's out of these very small meetings that very interesting things happen. It may be some targeted email campaign, or it could be some appropriate stickering with an appropriate sticker. So I'd say the first thing is to see whether you can team up with 1 or 2 other people, because there's always strength in numbers.
And that's going to be more and more important, because we'll be talking a little bit more about Pegasus in a minute. So that should be clear. Now, just to remind everybody that there is another demonstration this weekend, a big demonstration this weekend, if you'd like to attend it, in London on Saturday the 24th of July, 1 p.m, Worldwide Rally for Freedom, and also World Ivermectin Day. Now, of course, we know that the British government has begun its trial of ivermectin, well, we wait to see whether they do the same hatchet job on ivermectin that they did on hydroxychloroquine. Well, in the meantime, everybody should be at that event.
Multiply, yeah. We just needed to multiply. We need more people, and not only, of course, in London.
Now, of course, on Monday's programme, we were talking about the demonstration that was taking place outside Parliament Square. That was happening as we were on air, so we weren't able to get all the footage out to you. I want to thank Drew at LetMeLook.tv once again, because there was a bit of trouble with the police at this particular demonstration. I'm just fascinated about the types of things that were kicking off. First of all, we should say that on the weekend demonstrations, the policing, the one that I saw was at, and anything that I've seen, the policing is quite low key. But on this one, the police were out with their helmets and batons and so on. So what I want you to have a look at, just watch carefully what happens in the crowd here. We've just taken a small excerpt. We'll start this video, and we can see that a group of people push the crowd forward into the police line, well, that looked like a deliberate action. Now, at the weekend event on the 26th of June, there was an event, or there was an incident took place outside Downing Street where bottles were thrown into Downing Street, and that resulted in a police charge. And it looked to me like those bottles, or that incident, was staged, in the sense of there was possibly people there that were not part of the crowd otherwise, that took some action that the rest of the crowd weren't actually interested in taking. And that seems to be the case here as well. I'm particularly interested in because this person here seems to be one of the people that has kicked the whole thing off. And on the back of his t-shirt it says hashtag, can you say it, hashtag life, sorry, I've forgotten.
Yes, life something power, I think it is.
So, well, you can freeze the screen and you can have a look at that. I'm just interested to see what that hashtag, if anybody...
Power resist.
That's it, life power resist. Does anybody know what that hashtag means? And I'd just be interested to know. But anyway, obviously that incident was earlier on in the event, but then later on it got a bit more aggressive, particularly for one individual, and that was Will from
Resistance GB.
Yeah. So I'm just going to show a little bit of video here, and the key thing is what led up to this, because as you can see, Will is filming here, but it's all very peaceful and quiet. This policeman, however, is speaking to this lady and putting on some gloves, and they're padded gloves. So that is very interesting. He's very calm and cool. He's having a normal conversation. It's as if nothing strange is going on. But as soon as Will lifts his camera, as you'll see in 1 second, the police jump on him at that point. So he's about to lift his camera now, really taking his eye off taking the camera off the police line, and the next thing, that's him grabbed, and things get a bit hectic after that. Now, I've edited this somewhat, so you'll see what happens next. He is on the ground, and he's being punched by the police. Well, certainly not all the punches are are hitting home with the full fist, but nonetheless, he has experienced injuries as a result.
He certainly has. He's experienced a lot of bruising. Most of the punching was on his shoulder, but he had people obviously kneeling on him, and other people were hitting his body. They kept him down for a protracted length of time, which he doesn't understand because he was never a threat to them.
So that's just before you go on, Brian, that's a very interesting point, because they could have had him up and they could have had him handcuffed and in the van very quickly. Now, I asked Joe Boyd about this because obviously he's been on various demonstrations for many, many years and has plenty of experience of the police under these circumstances. And he agreed with me that there's a number of possible explanations. One is that the police, in fact, did this in order to create angst within the crowd. Another is that the police did this in order to create media headlines. But he also suggested the possibility that they would not move him until they had somewhere to move him to and a clear path to move him to. And one of the things that Will said to us this morning was that, in fact, the crowd here was it's sort of in a line, so the police couldn't get to the van.
Yeah, they formed a human wall to try and stop the police getting him into the van, but the police did achieve that. And ultimately, he was taken to a police station, held for 20 hours. But I think what was going on at this point when they had him on the floor is they were searching his property. They were searching bags and pockets. And one of the things he's been accused of is he had a pocket knife. And so his camera stick and the pocket knife means that the police are apparently investigating the fact that he could have been a direct threat to them. But Will's opinion is that he was deliberately targeted. He thinks he was targeted because he's been posting the video clips showing and exposing unlawful behaviour by the police. And as he says, the police are facing largely peaceful protesters with weapons. They've either got batons or they've got tasers, which are classed as a weapon. So he is saying we are now witnessing elements of the police completely out of control. So he was held for 20 hours. They denied him writing materials, which I think is part of his rights when he's there in the cells, and it took them ages to let him see a lawyer. There was a nurse who eventually came to tend him. But basically, they didn't bother to take any pictures of the injuries that he sustained. Now, he is dark-skinned, but he said, I can still see the bruises on my skin, but no photographic record was taken by the police. Obviously, they didn't want anything like physical damage to cloud their decisions over what he was up to.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to this then. BBC headline, and on the BBC radio this morning, this is a big issue. UK and France agree deal to tackle rise in channel crossings. Now, it is spectacular how we are effectively merging with France. Brian, we've obviously got a 50-year defence pact. We've talked about that over many years. You're talking about the behavioural science side of the UK-French collaboration. And now we've got this UK-French collaboration with respect to immigration and channel crossings, which doesn't seem to do anything other than to facilitate the migration. But what I really wanted to focus on here was just to remind everybody what's going on here. First of all, we've got people coming in from the Sahel, and to a certain degree, mostly from the Sahel. They're being trafficked, so there's a huge industry behind this. They're coming into the UK, but they're not just coming into the UK. So if we look at the map here, and I'm going to focus on Lake Chad as one example, the Lake Chad area. We've got people being trafficked to the west coast of Africa, also up through the Sahara through into Libya and into Algeria and so on, and then across into Europe. And that does two things. First of all, it removes people of a certain, because these tend to be young men,
predominantly young men. Yeah.
It removes young men of a certain age out of the Sahel area. But the other thing it does, of course, is it helps break down the national identities in European countries and so on. But the thing that is never mentioned and never really discussed is, in fact, that the migration isn't just going west and north. It's also going south, and it's also causing problems in countries south of the Sahel as well. So we seem to be emptying, I say we, I'm talking about Western, and we'll see why I say this in a second, Western influences seem to be emptying this region of young men. And the question is why? Well, I don't really have an answer right now, but I just want to highlight once again who is operating in this area. It is obviously China's Belt